Tonight, future up for debate.
I'm concerned about the fact that this is a process that could be repetitive in nature. I don't want to have to go through this again.
Efforts to privatize Metro Park are no more, but the battle may not be over. We'll explain. Plus, the annual Mountain States poll showing how voters may be leaning for the upcoming election. And later,
I'm Alina Howder. We'll give you a closer look at one hunting family's traditions and how they did this opening weekend. Coming up.
the MTN News starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Russ Riesinger. New at 10 tonight, safety measures may finally be on the way for a dangerous and very busy road in the Billings Heights. It all sparked from complaints to the city after 2 children were recently hit on Lake Elmo Drive. Our Kelsey Marison lets us know what types of improvements are in store.
Around Bench Elementary School's arrival and dismissal times, Lake Elmo Drive becomes crowded with children making their way to and from school. In 2022 alone, at least 2 children have been hit by cars on Lake Elmo Drive. In response, the city of Billings is making some major safety improvements to the road.
We first told you about Ben Vaden 2 months ago, struck by a car on Lake Elmo Drive while crossing the street to get to his bus stop.
He got smacked at 35 miles an hour, thrown 15 feet.
Then in August, it happened again. Another child was hit on the same street.
He's doing remarkably good for what he went through.
But even adults have had a difficult time dodging speeding cars in the neighborhood. Ken Wegner lives on Unita Park Drive right off of Lake Elmo, a caretaker for a young family member. He says crossing the street to get to a nearby playground was extremely frustrating.
Had a real difficult time getting people to understand what crosswalks are. They would not stop. I think it's very dangerous.
Parents wanted change, and now they're getting it.
There's a few exciting changes to Lake Elmo. We're looking at probably in the future next year.
Engineer Mac Fogelsong says the city has been conducting traffic studies on Lake Elmo Drive and planning changes since May, when a citizen submitted an online form through the Public Works website, coupled with numerous emails to city council members from concerned parents. Those changes include a 25-mile-per-hour school zone on Milton Road, where Bench Elementary is located, along with flashing beacons. And more beacons will also be added to the crosswalk at Unita Park Drive on Lake Elmo. And that's not all.
We are also adding some improvements up by the lake as well by Fish and Game there. There's kind of that short radius curve there. Drives a little tough if you're driving too fast, and so we're going to update some signage and things in that area to kind of make it a more safe curve.
Fogelsong says the improvements by FWP will begin soon, and the remaining Lake Elmo Drive changes will happen sometime in the spring.
I think it's very necessary, and I'm glad they are doing it. I hope they get it done.
In Billings, Kelsey Marison, MTN News.
New poll results show Republicans lead in Montana's 2 congressional races, but there are still a lot of voters left undecided, making room for the other candidates to close the gap. These numbers from the MSUB Mountain States poll that was released today. MTN's Jackie Coffin takes a closer look.
It's the 35th time political scientists here at MSUB have polled Montanans on how and when they're going to vote. And while it's impossible to know precisely how an election's going to turn out, polls like the Mountain States poll give insight onto how Montanans feel about hot-button issues and candidates on and off the ballot this November.
The biggest seats up for grabs this election cycle: 2 congressional seats, one in District 2, the Eastern District, and the newly formed District 1 on the western side of the state. The poll conducted between October 3rd and October 14th puts incumbent Congressman Republican Matt Rosendale ahead of his 3 challengers with 35% of the vote. Independent Gary Buchanan is polling at just over 21%, and Democrat Penny Ronning is at 17%. Libertarian Sam Rankin has about 5% of the vote. But almost 20% of voters don't know who they will pick.
Very likely this is an advantage to Rosendale. Opposition put together might be fairly high, but considering that opposition is then split into 2, a good scenario for Rosendale.
In the Eastern Congressional Campaign, poll results don't change the goal for Democrat Penny Ronning and Independent Gary Buchanan.
I don't really focus on things that other people are studying. I focus on what Montanans are saying and focus on what I'm hearing from Montanans and the discussions that I'm having. I've put 22,000 miles on my car since February, and I haven't left Montana. I haven't left Congressional District 2. So I've been traveling around throughout this district and talking with people here.
In the last 2 weeks of campaigning, Ronning and Buchanan are on the road. Wednesday, Ronning is in Billings and Livingston. Buchanan is in Fort Benton and Great Falls.
I just got the results of that poll. I think what I'm hearing is that people are not satisfied with the incumbent. I mean, I think 35% for an incumbent and 17% undecided, I think it gives me a hell of a shot.
MTN reached out to incumbent Congressman and frontrunner Republican Matt Rosendale by email and phone to participate in this story, but we have received no response from his campaign. In Billings, Jackie Coffin, MTN News.
That poll also asked respondents whether they approve or disapprove of the job our leaders are doing. Only 22% said they approve of President Biden's performance, while 58% said they disapprove. When it comes to Congress, just 16% approve, while 55% don't. 40% approved of Montana Senator Steve Daines' performance, while 32% disapprove. 41% approved of the job Senator John Tester is doing, while 39% disapproved. Only 29% approved of the job Matt Rosendale is doing, while 35% disapproved. Meanwhile, Governor Greg Gianforte had the highest approval rating at 47%, while 27% disapproved of the job that he's doing. Another interesting result from the poll, 53% said they disagreed with the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, while just 28% agreed. The rest were undecided or had no opinion. Democrats were nearly unanimous in disagreeing with the court's decision, while Republicans were more evenly split, with 40% saying they agree with the decision and 33% saying that they disagree. The battle for control of Metro Park is over for now. Yellowstone County has pulled the plug on 2 private bids amidst what it calls growing public apprehensions over the future management of the facility. But its day in court may not be over. Our Casey Conlon has our continuing coverage.
Metro Park will remain in Yellowstone County's hands, the county officially ending its process to seek private management of the facility. A lawsuit and temporary restraining order filed by a local attorney seem to be the last straws in a contentious debate that's lasted over a year.
Most bothersome was the fact that I found contact with OVG going back as early as March of 2019.
Billings attorney Gene Giarrusi filed the lawsuit last month, alleging Commissioners Don Jones and Dennis Pittman had inappropriate contact with Oakview Group during the public request phase, and that they were unquestionably favoring OVG to win the bid. Only they and ASM Global, both based in LA, submitted bids.
That's what I was concerned about, given the content of the emails I had and literally the tens upon tens upon tens of phone calls between OVG and commissioners.
County Deputy Attorney Gina Lervik filed a motion Tuesday to dismiss the lawsuit because of the county's decision to terminate the process. The complaint is moot, Lervik wrote. Giarrusi requested the court stop the process with the requests. The county stopped the process with the requests. There is no process for the court to stop. Giarrusi disagrees.
I'm concerned about the integrity of the competitive bidding process. I'm concerned about the fact that this is a process that could be repetitive in nature. I don't want to have to go through this again.
He now has a couple of weeks to respond to the motion, which he says he will do. We reached out to the commissioners for comment, but did not hear back as of broadcast time. The court brief denies any wrongdoing. Yellowstone County asserts that the lawsuit holds no merit. Any communications had between county commissioners were in no way in conflict or violation of the law. But the county does say it ended the process because of the significant backlash it's been receiving. It is clear to the county commissioners that the process continues to be beleaguered by doubts, and the board is concerned that the public continues to have apprehensions regarding its processes in this matter.
We want potential bidders to feel comfortable that they're going to get a fair shot. If they don't feel that they're going to get a fair shot, then they won't submit a bid, and we as taxpayers then lose out on maybe getting the best deal for the money spent.
In Billings, Casey Conlon, MTN News.
Yeah, some big changes coming in the weather by the time we start getting into next week. This is the Climate Prediction Center outlook for the first part of November, the 1st through the 5th. We're looking at a 60 to 70% chance of wetter than average conditions here in southern Montana, much of northern Wyoming, 50 to 60% chance across the rest of the state. And as far as temperatures go, we're also leaning towards colder than average readings, especially in the western portion of the state, but the odds are also pretty high that we could see temperatures cooler than we would normally see into the first part of November. Our average daytime highs will be in the upper 40s to low 50s by the time we start getting into the early part of November, with lows typically in the low 30s.
It's been nearly 5 months since disastrous floods swept out this road, which used to have direct access to the Stillwater mine. And on Wednesday evening, officials met to try and put together a reconstruction plan as winter quickly approaches. This stretch of road was among the most significant damage caused by the flooding this June. And while the Stillwater mine and its operations have been able to proceed, people in the area are starting to wonder when it will be fixed.
So we are good to get construction started on this, as we have been with all other road projects throughout the county.
According to the meeting this Wednesday evening featuring county commissioners and engineering consultants, the goal is to have a brand new road built by the time high water season arrives next spring.
From the county's perspective, I think we're fairly confident that that roadway is going to be restored for public access come next spring if everything goes right this winter.
Officials say the process has taken even longer than expected due to dealing with FEMA and other government institutions.
We've been trying to push really hard. We've met with Senator Daines. We're continuing to try and get a meeting with Army Corps, because a lot of these permits, one will be reviewed and the next agency wouldn't review it until the first agency's done.
Any work done on the river is not allowed to commence until the end of brown trout spawning season, which ends November 15th. Officials did say that the reconstruction of the road will occur during the winter months so that future damage when the water speed picks up can be avoided. In Nye, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
Still to come on the MTN 10 o'clock news here on Q2. Hotel wars. Tourism leaders meet in Billings as the eastern part of the state struggles to see the same amount of visitors as the west. And later, All in the Family will head out and about and meet the Lesters as hunting season has become a bonding experience.
The MTN 10 o'clock news continues right after this.